Hi everyone, so for my speech I chose to talk about the unemployment rate. It's a relevant topic because it affects many Americans today, especially. Did you know that the unemployment rate is currently only 7.6%? That's actually the lowest it's been in the last 4 years. I, like most of you, probably do know family members or friends that are currently unemployed and have to rely on the unemployment benefits for support. Over the past decade, more and more Americans are being laid off from their jobs and are forced to rely on unemployment benefits. The main points that I want to talk about in my speech are the change in the unemployment rate over the past decade. I want to talk about the unemployment benefits, which I don't know if you really can call them benefits, and also the change in the job growth rate and how it affects the unemployment rate. My main point is the unemployment rate over the past decade. First, to understand the unemployment rate, you have to understand what the government considers to be unemployed and who they put into that category. First off, it starts with you have to be 16 years or older, but just because you're out of work doesn't mean you're unemployed in the government's eyes. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they take into account those who are 16 and over and out of work but are actively seeking a new job. So even if you get laid off and you're over 16, which most of us are, but you're not looking for a new job, you aren't considered unemployed. In March 2003, the unemployment rate was only 5.9%, which is a drastic difference compared to March 2013, where it's 7.6%. But on a better note, from last year to this year, the unemployment rate has dropped significantly. In March 2012, the unemployment rate was 8.2%. And now it's only 7.6%, which I said before is the lowest it's been in the last 4 years. The worst year on average, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, would have to be 2010, where in March 2010, the unemployment rate was 9.9%. And throughout that entire year, the unemployment rate was anywhere from 9.0 to 9.9%. It never dropped lower, it never went higher than 9.9%. The worst month over the past decade is October 2009, where the unemployment rate reached a staggering 10%. Now that we know about the unemployment rate, I want to talk to you about the unemployment benefits. The purpose of the unemployment benefits was to provide monetary support for those who are out of work while they were looking for their new job. To meet the requirements of eligibility, you have to meet there's a set requirement for the wages that you have earned and also for the time worked on the job. You have to have at least worked on that particular job for it's 1 year. According to About.com, it's 1 year, and then you have to be determined to be unemployed by the government. You have to apply, and then they determine if you are considered unemployed at no fault of your own. So now that takes you to the disqualification. If you quit for no good reason from your job, you aren't considered unemployed. You just are out of work. If you get fired for misconduct, you also aren't eligible for unemployment because it was at your own fault. Also, you can't collect unemployment if you leave for marital reasons, because you're attending school, because you were involved in a labor dispute. If you left for an illness, that still doesn't count. Or even if you're self-employed, if you lose your job, because obviously you're self-employed, if you lose your job, you lose your company or whatever, you can't receive unemployment benefits. The benefits, though, themselves are, you can receive the monetary support for a maximum of 26 weeks, but when the unemployment rate is really, really high at a certain point, there may be time to have additional couple weeks of receiving the benefits. What the benefits add up to is about half of the earnings that you received while working, up to a maximum point. If you're a billionaire and then all of a sudden you're unemployed, they're not going to give you millions and millions of dollars. They have to have a maximum because then they would run out of money to support you. Also, the unemployment benefits are subject to the federal income tax and everything, and you have to record them on your income tax statement, because, or the IRS will get like very upset with you and everything. Okay, the next thing about after the benefits to talk about is job growth. Over the past 4 months, from like November to February, job growth averaged about 220,000 jobs per month. In March this past year, only 88,000 jobs were added, and it was actually speculated by analysts that the job growth for March alone would be 190,000, so that was drastically under. So, from this year to last year, job growth has dropped a lot. In March 2012, job growth was 205,000 jobs in 1 month. And like I said, it was only 88,000 this year. Job growth relates to unemployment because when there's a raise in job growth, the unemployment rate is going to drop, which is good for us. But analysts, and according to an article I read on the Los Angeles Times that I found online, they say that the only reason it dropped is because, not because more people are getting jobs, but because more and more people are dropping out of the labor force. Over this past month, the people that are actively looking for jobs that are out of work but actively looking dropped by 500,000 people. And the job force, the labor force in America dropped to 63.3% of the population, which is the lowest it has been in the past 3 decades. Also, just this past week, in the beginning of April, according to an article I found at the Associated Press in Washington, the applicants for that week for unemployment benefits dropped to 346,000, which is a 42,000 drop in 1 week. Which some people may say, oh, it's good because we're getting more jobs, but according to the LA Times article, it's because more people are just giving up and not worrying about receiving benefits. So, the question is, can we really rely on the job growth number and unemployment rate number to see if we really are improving or not? I don't think we can. In conclusion, recently the unemployment rate has beginning to drop, but I don't think it takes into account everyone that's really unemployed because it only counts those who are looking. The unemployment benefits are created to help you, but they don't really, you can't really live off them. And even though unemployment's dropping, job growth is also dropping, which is not a good thing. I just want to leave you with this one last thought, and it's, I hope that you learned something from this speech, and that just to think, can we really rely on the unemployment rate that's provided to us by the government, or should we take into account that there's many people that they don't think about in this? Thank you.